Hey guys, TitanPreparedness, welcome back to the channel today. Today's video we have a big product to show you guys. And it's big enough where I had to zoom out the camera. That's because it takes up the entire table. This is the AllPowers SF200 watt flexible solar panel. AllPowers did reach out to me and they said, hey, we would like for you to review one of our newer solar panels and let me know what you think. I said, that's great because I have products that require solar, right? I've got the Ecoflow Delta, I got the Ecoflow Delta Pro. So this is what I would consider an RV solar panel, right? The good thing about these solar panels is the thickness. Can y'all see that? That is super thin. That is like paper thin. I'll put on the screen exactly what it is. But the idea is if you do want to go boondocking, if you do kind of want to go off grid while you're in your RV, you can take 2 or 3 of these panels, hook them up to your Ecoflow, hook them up to your Jacker, your AllPower system, your whatever system you have, and now have 200, 300, 400 watts of solar, and it doesn't take up much space at all. They're flexi panels, which means that they can take a slight beating, but I don't recommend coming out here hitting them with a hammer. Again, you can toss them in your RV, and let's say a stick from the tree that you're parked behind falls on top of them. Okay, fine, not that big of a deal. Let's say you're driving down in your RV and something inside falls on top of them. A coffee pot, a cooler, something like that. Again, not that big of a deal. They're not fragile like glass, but they don't fold up in half like the ones I already have. So these are one of those that you set it and forget it for a couple days, but they're not super permanent, right? These aren't the ones you would find on your roof. They're not designed for that. They're designed for a roof of an RV for a couple weekend camping trip. So let's talk about pricing for a minute because a lot of people, that's all they care about. What am I getting for what price? Price, 200 bucks. A little bit more, about 215, 219 on their website, 235 on Amazon, so $219 plus shipping. $1 per watt is not bad. This is like $1 and some cents per watt. So again, you're getting a 200 watt panel for $219. It's not bad at all. Again, it's a flexi panel, so it only weighs about 10 pounds. Could you go buy a glass panel for, half the price? Maybe, but that bad boy is going to weigh like 50 pounds. $1 per watt is what I'm comfortable paying, maybe a little bit over, but there's some companies out here that are paying $5 per watt, or you're paying $5 per watt when you buy their solar panels. $1.50 per watt, I'm okay with that. What all does this product come with? It's not a lot, okay? Massive box, doesn't come with a lot of stuff. You do have these Velcro straps, okay? And at first I thought that they were to roll up the panel and like you can make the panel like that. They're not. Over here you see that they have these eyelets. You got them on all sides. And so if you wanted to tie them up to your RV, hey, you got the option. If you wanted to tie them up to a tree, cool, you have the option. So there's 8 eyelets. You do get 8 of these. Again, security for tying it up in the first place and security to keep it there. It does come with the XT60 cord, which is what a lot of your bigger power stations take. A lot of your smaller power stations, like I've got some 300 watters, I've got some 500 watters, they take like just a single, like it looks like a 3mm jack input. Your larger ones, your Anchors, your Ecoflows, Jackeries, take the XT60. And the reason the XT60 is important is because it can deliver more power through the cords. The Anderson ports that are on like the 4 Patriots ones, they can only intake so much solar. These, however, the XT60s can intake more solar, therefore providing more solar for your input, whatever your unit can take, right? So you do have O-rings on both the XT60 port and then the connectors where you actually connect them to the device. This allows for a IP68 rating. That means it's water resistant. Don't go dunking it in the lake. Don't go dunking it in the ocean. But as far as like a little rainstorm hitting it, yeah, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about the panel so much as you do what you're plugging it into. Now, me personally, I'm not putting my $2,000-$3,000 power stations outside, but your panels during a light little rainstorm, can sit outside and do fine. These are very simple if you've never used them, male to female. They do have little push pins where you would have to push down to pop them out. Sometimes they are a little difficult if you don't have nails. Push them down and then they pop out. So male to male, or male to female on the other end, and then you are good to go. You would plug in your XT60 anywhere to go. Now, if you guys watched my Ecoflow Fridays video a couple months ago where I messed around with my solar panels, you would understand that solar panels are a pain in the butt. But to have a solar generator, a solar power station, you need solar systems to go into them. The problem with portable solar panels that I was using is that I had to move them around all day. Okay, I went from the backyard to the middle yard to the front yard and had to fix my angles and work on my angles. These are RV solar panels. They are not necessarily designed to try to get the right proper angle all the time, and you go out there and you move them every hour on the hour. Not really. What these are really designed for is you get to the camping spot, you get to the site, you throw them up on the roof. You might be getting 50 watts, you might be getting 200 watts. They are designed to either hang off of your RV or to lay on top of your RV. You just kind of throw them up there, secure them down, and let it ride. Unless you are requiring all of your solar to run your RV, these are kind of a set it and forget it type thing. So what is the ETF honeycomb design? Again, because of how you set these panels up, right? A set it and forget it, don't move them around every hour on the hour type thing. The little covering that is on here is designed to reflect more to the panel itself. Okay, that's the ETEF honeycomb design. So let's say you do have a bad angle on these. The idea is that the covering, the coating, the ETEF, is going to bend that sunlight the way it needs to assist that panel. Now, that don't mean that you can set it behind some clouds and expect 200 watts, but what that means is that if you're not at the perfect 35 degree angle for solar panels, that the panel is going to help out a little bit. Now, is it better if you can get that 35 degree angle or 30 degree angle? Of course. But this thing has no kickstands. This thing has no legs. This thing is designed to be thrown up on your RV roof and set it and forget it. So how are you supposed to get that 30 degree angle? Again, ETF coating does help out with that. It's not going to completely solve all your issues, but it will help. So on the back, we do have some information. We have AllPowers. Yep, name of the company. We have 200 watt flexible solar panel. Yep, that's exactly what this product is. You have your cell material, which is a monocrystalline. So your open volt is 38.4. Your short circuit is 6.8 amps. Your maximum output voltage is 32% or 32 volts. So one thing to remember with your voltage, whatever your unit can intake is how many volts you can put through it, okay? So if your unit can take 24 volts, you can put two 12-volt panels side by side. Now, let's say it can take up to 3,600 watts, like some of the Ecoflow units. 3,600 watts, let's say it's 48 volts. That means you can put four 12-volt panels together, and it doesn't matter if they're 100 watts, it doesn't matter if they're 500 watts. You cannot surpass that voltage, because if you surpass that voltage, it's going to mess up the system. The height is 54.1 inches, so less than 5 foot. The width is 30 inches, so less than 3 foot. And the thickness is 0.11 inches. The weight is 9 pounds. So we are going to get this thing out in the sunlight whenever the sun comes up in the next day or two and test its actual capabilities. Hopefully we have a bright, nice day out tomorrow where we can test it. We're going to see how this one does when it comes to being covered up and then trying to recharge post being covered up. There are some of them that if they get covered up, you have to unplug it from the unit and plug it back up. Well, you know what would suck is to have this panel out for 3-4 hours thinking you're recharging your unit and then it not being recharged because you didn't unplug it and plug it back up. So what we're going to see is, number one, can I get 200 watts with it? Number two, can I plug it up to my Ecoflow systems? And number three, can I plug it up to the Ecoflow network of solar panels? Because again, the male to female ends, there are ways to combine these. right? The idea is if you have a massive unit like the Delta Pro, 3.6 kW, 200 watts is a lot, but 200 watts for that size unit is not a lot. So can you plug this up to another 100 watt? Can you plug this up to another 100 watts, right? And how much intake can you actually provide to a unit like that? But again, this is a set it and forget it type panel. It's an RV panel. It's very flexible, very portable, very lightweight. So let's get outside and let's see what we can do with it. All right, guys, so we finally have a nice day out here. We have the AllPowers 200 watt solar panel, and we have the sun. So we're gonna try to see what it can do against the Ecoflow Delta 1300. The reason I picked this unit was because it's the smallest one that I can carry out here. Of course, I can bring my big Delta Pro with wheels that weighs 100 pounds. I don't want to do that. Unfortunately, this part of the video has taken multiple days just because of the weather. And that's one thing you got to remember with solar panels is you're kind of at the mercy of the weather. We've had rain and cloud coverage for like the last week and a half. We finally have a somewhat decent day out here. With this flexi solar panel, if I tried to stand it up, it's going to fall over. So this is kind of at the mercy of what I'm getting. It doesn't have legs, it doesn't have arms, and so this is kind of example number one, and then I might try to prop it and re-angle it depending on what we get. So we have the male and female ends already hooked up. We have the XT60 for it, and we're just going to stick it in and see what it does. So I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but we're getting about 90 watts right now. All right, so with the current angle we have, we're getting about 100 watts, which isn't great for a 200 watt panel, but for something like this 1300, it's pretty good. Now, again, if I was charging the Delta Pro, which is 3.6, not so much, right? So again, with the flexi panel, you're not getting the right angle. This is just supposed to get tossed up on an RV, set it and forget it type deal. So let's see if we can move it around and see if we can get a better number. All right, so all we've done here is just turned it sideways. That way it kind of gets more of an angle because the sun's like right here. All right, so just by changing the angle, we jumped up from 99 watts to 133 watts just by simply turning it sideways. All right, so all we've done is went from standing to a side position, and we jumped up almost 35 watts. So we went from 99 watts standing up to 132 just by it sitting down. So our next test is gonna be just straight flat. All I've done is just drop it where it's 100% on the ground. Let's see where it's at first. So we actually took a major hit on that one. We're at 62 watts because of the flatness. I know this is not the proper angle. 100% I know that. But this is actually what I ended up having to do to my panel when I was trying to charge my Delta Pro with my solar panel, because the way the sun kind of comes over the house, I could not get a good enough angle where I'm actually getting wattages. So sometimes you might have to do this. And again, this is an RV panel, so you might have to just toss it up on your roof and say, you know what, it's the best I'm going to be able to do. Let's see if it will work with the rest of the normal solar panels and see if we can get better wattages. So we know the best watt we can get is at this angle. It's about 140, 150s. It is all over the place right now. So if you could prop it up, I think that'd be great. But the problem is, no prop. So let's get a couple other panels plugged up to it and let's see if the Delta can take it. So what we have on this setup is we have the Ecoflow 110 watt panel, the AllPowers 200 watt panel. This is a singular setup with two panels. So you simply connect the positive and negative together and then run one positive chain and one negative chain. Now, if you had 4, 5, 6 of these panels, it'd be a little different, but only doing a two-part setup, just trying to make sure I don't overdo the Ecoflow. So let's see what we have once I move out of the way. Current setup, and these are not good angles at all, is 150 watts. Sounds great, except for this is a 200 watt panel, that's a 110. Not fantastic, right? But all I have to do, again, is just move this panel to a better angle, like this, and see if those numbers go up any. Right here, we're getting 178 watts. So again, flexi panel, kind of have to angle it where you want it. This one doesn't come with legs either, so you're kind of at the mercy for that one. that's kind of what you're dealt with. So let me give you guys some final thoughts on the AllPowers 200 watt flexi solar panel. It's one of these panels that I'm not going to use on a super regular basis unless, you know, grid goes down or power goes out or something like that. But it's one of these where I can just kind of throw it up here on this carport, it be up here for when I need it. And then as the sun progresses throughout the day, unplug from the fold-in half panels, have this one on the rooftop and plug back into it. It's one of those things where it's a set it and forget it style panel. Again, it's made for RVs, it's made for campers, it's made for boats, where you're not worried about the perfect angle of the sun every minute of every day. You're just kind of like, hey, let me toss this up here, let me secure it down, and I'll be good to go. If I get 50 watts, if I get 200 watts, we're good to go. As far as things like size, price, weight, measurements, all those are good to go. Right? Again, first flexi solar panel I've ever had. So it's pretty interesting going from something that's, you know, that thick folded up to paper thin. It's just wider or it's longer. Weight, size, price, all those are great. 200 bucks, 215 bucks for this is not bad at all. Again, there's companies out here that are selling 100 watt panels for $500 and they weigh almost 40 pounds. So to get a flexi panel like this, 200 bucks, 200 watts, cool, I'm good with that. Thinness, yeah, I could stack like 4 or 5 of these up in behind the door and no one would even know that they're there until I go to use them. So what about output? This is a 200 watt panel. We didn't get 200 watts. That's okay though. We did get at least 150, so I'm kind of okay with that. There's 3 things that affect a solar panel: temperature, angle, and the sunshine. Again, we've had to wait multiple days to do this video because of the sunshine, because it was raining, because we had a storm blowing in. And so the one day I get out here to do this is the only day I have. And in a true blue apocalyptic grid down, heck, just power outage scenario, you might only get this one day to be out here doing this. So 150 watts, not terrible. Would I like to have seen 200 watts? Of course. But again, we had a little bit of cloud coverage, which is the second thing that affects it, right? A little bit of cloud coverage goes a long way when it comes to solar panels. This one did, however, reset itself. So I did appreciate that, because I sat and I watched as a cloud went behind or in front of the sun and it dropped. And then the cloud moved and it immediately shot right back up. So that's one thing I do like. I do appreciate you're not out there having to plug and unplug every couple minutes. A lot of people say that the panels work better the warmer they get. I haven't given it its full opportunity to heat up to over 100 degrees yet. It was in the shade, finally got home. I said, all right, I need to do this, get it out here, set up the camera, boom, 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 boom. You know, maybe it's in the sun for 10, 15 minutes. So as the temperature goes up on these panels, they're supposed to work a little bit better too. That might have been another reason why we didn't see the 200 watts. It having the voltages that it has is my only concern with the units that I'm using it with. Because again, you have to not only be below that wattage, you have to be below that voltage. How many other panels could I plug up to this before I override the system? If this is a 200 watt and I plug up 4 or 5 100 watters to it, is it going to lower this's capacity because of the other wattages that are coming out of the other units? I don't know, but I do know that it works with a single Ecoflow panel, right? There's no problems with that as far as the Delta is concerned, the Delta 1300, and I'm sure AllPowers makes their own little power station. I'm sure it would work well with it. But again, AllPowers 200 watt flexi solar panel, I'm good with it, right? This is gonna be one of those items that I have in case of power outage, in case of grid down scenario. Again, I can throw it up on a rooftop and let it be. There'll be a link in the description below if you wanna go check them out. Might be a coupon code if I have one, but either way, hope y'all take care, stay safe out there, and go check them out if you want to. That's all I got for today's video. Y'all stay safe out there.